kuweza kuomba deni, basi mwananchi lazima aweze kuhusishwa kwenye uamuzi huo. Haya, it's the tackle begins now, lakini kama kawaida kabla hujaanza kazi lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. This tackle begins now. Ukifika kama kawaida like get to know that you're watching us, and like please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. You can sign the initiative at www.idhini.com idhini idhini.com. Haya, tuende mbele za Mungu. Mighty Father, come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive this morning. We thank you, Father, for what you've given our hands to do as we have this discussion, as we go out there. We pray that be able to bless us at our individual points. Even the tacklers who are coming in, may meet them at their point of individual needs. As you start with us, and as you have this discussion, may you be able to identify the fabric of this country. Start with us. When you finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Haya, asante sana. Nani pia anakuja? Governor P. Muchendu yuko njiani anakuja. Governor P. Muchendu is on his way, so he'll be able to join us shortly so that we can have the discussion together. Isaka BKN, good morning going to you, my brother. Mungalita continue our morning team tackle tuning in from Coventry, United Kingdom. Good to hear to be part of this morning show. Thank you so much, my brother. Mungalita continue all day from the UK, Coventry. Jones Mwenda, good morning to my brother. Job Asuma, good morning. Karoki wa Masi, watching today I'm at Embu County. Asante sana, salimia watu wa Embu. Nashukuru sana nilitembea huko weekend. Mali safi sana, very beautiful country. Countryside. Emmanuel Serem, good morning, good people. Good morning to my brother Emmanuel Serem. Aaron Deitu, good morning GB. Good morning to you, bro. Good to see you. Kati Jerono, good to see you. Shemeji, good morning. Kati Jerono, good morning. I hope you're doing well. Kanan Kipchumba Kilat, good morning. Bito, good morning to my brother. Karibu sana Nairobi, nasikia uko umumu na unitafute. Attend keep. So good morning Gerald Bito, good morning to my brother Kitonga Kinyanjui. Asama voice behind public in debt. Haya, weka hapo signature yako www.idhini.com. Kipkorir bana. So good morning Bito, good morning to you BONIFACE Cheria. Tuko locked pamoja bro, man, asante sana. Sami Kiamba logged in from Isiolo, asante. Out Isiolo around the Rift Westlands, well tuned in. Thank you my brother BONIFACE Cheria. Good morning Evan Sarap Serone, good morning GB from Nakuru, asante. Moses Kamo, and so good morning from Sisibo. You can't live by debts only but income. Yeah, kabisa. Kanan Kipchumba Kilach, good morning from Nairobi, asante. Cheru Charles Cheria tazama watching from Ruiru, asante sana. Anita Chasira, good morning to you Anita. Cleofaski again, good morning team Tackle watching from Adelaide, Australia. Thank you so much of the guys from the land down under Australia, Adelaide, Australia. It's good to see you guys. Omar Alan, good morning. Collins Kipto, good morning, well tuned in here at Nairobi, asante sana. When you join in, please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. Utuambia kwamba unatazama kutoka wapi. Jana ilikuwa Madaraka na kulikuwa na mambo mingi, but I think Nyanza region has given us an example now politics of this country should play off. Despite the sharp political differences and the kind of politics that's going in the country right now, I think Nyanza guys and Kisumu guys, by extension, really played as serious patriots, and they showed us how politics should be tolerant. A lot of people wanasema Kisumu, watu watalimu wakasema kwamba kuna jamaa atalimu zaidi mwenye anapinga handshake anaitwa William Ruto. Hana liona Kondele, William anaimbiwa. Nikasema hapa ni Kisumu ama kuna watu ambao waliletwa kutoka Kericho. Anyway, good morning Boniface Mwai.
Good morning, Gerard. How are you?
Salama sana boss, good to see you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so delighted to be here.
Karibu sana. This is your first time on the tackle?
Yeah, this is my very first time. And I'm very much pleased. Yeah, you are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, bro.
Yes.
Watu wanasemaje huko nje?
Watu wanakula madaraka, lakini bado wanalia mzigo wa maisha umekuwa mzito. Yeah, it has been very hard. Ukiingia supermarket na dhao moja,
hata si dhao siku hizi bwana, 10,000 ni kama dhao moja ya kitambo.
Inaisha tu hivi kama ile tunasema kama fuse.
Yaani ukishafungua imeenda hivyo.
Ukishafungua hairudi.
And I was actually shocked because sometimes you could go shopping with 10,000 shillings and at least you could carry something. Even today with 10,000 shillings, you don't even carry 2 bags.
Zamani 10,000 watu walikuwa wananunua kagari wanasema ni paper bag. Ile kagari ya mama ya kwenda. Sababu inajaa buti na 10,000.
Sasa unataka ushika kwa mkono ukienda nyumbani.
Hata haijai kwa trolley. Gharama ya maisha bana, it's way too much high. And it has all to do with something. Kuna debt element. Yeah, kwa sababu tunalipa deni. Na ndio unajua sasa hiyo deni inakuja kwetu na lazima tulipe. So I think that's why hata madaraka jana unapata watu hajakula chapo. Na unajua sikukuu sio sikukuu bila chapati.
Bila chapo.
Yes.
So what do you think is the state of the economy?
Well. We are not doing very well because one, corruption. Hii mnyama hii inaitwa cartels. Fisadi. Ndio imekuwa kama ile kichungi ile ya kuchunga chai. Pesa zinakuja zikisonga. So we are doing quite badly. Kuna mambo tunaona barabara za gorofa, tunaona railway. Lakini mwananchi wa kawaida kule mashinani
hajaweza kuisikia uchumi
mali. Unapata bado asilimia kubwa sana kwanza hapa mitaani. Okay. Bado watu wanaishi informal settlement. Kwa hivyo bado inaonekana pesa ziko na wachache. Wale wengi bado hawajasikia utamu. Jana ilikuwa madaraka, hawajasikia utamu wa madaraka. Yes.
Okay. Sasa jana madaraka pia ikiwa, what are your thoughts? Do you think tuko na hiyo madaraka ama bado tuko kwenye minyororo ya minyororo ya wakoloni weusi?
Sasa kile kimefanyika, tulimfukuza yule beberu mweupe, yule mkoroni. Lakini kisha tukabadilisha na mwingine. Huyu ambao tumebadilisha na yeye ametutafutia mbinu. Na unajua katiba inasema hakuna mtu anafaa kuingizwa katika utumwa. Article 30 of the Constitution. Nobody should be taken into slavery. Lakini yule mkoroni wa zamani alikuwa anakufuata na kiboko. Yule alikuwa anaitwa slave master nyapara. Anakufuata na kiboko ndio umalize kazi ambao amekupimia ufanye. Lakini nyapara wa leo anaenda China, anachukua loan 1/3, dhuruthi moja kwa 3. Anaweka mfuko wake. Kisha wewe mwananchi wa kawaida unabaki ukilipa miaka yako yote. Unapata deni, tuko na madeni ingine ina run up to 2047. Nimeona ingine inaenda mpaka 2064. Sasa shida ni kwamba kama hii pesa ingekuja na ifanye kazi ambayo inafaa, we have no problem with that. Good. Lakini sasa hata wao wenyewe tumesikia ripoti za mashirika mbalimbali, tumeona hata president mwenyewe alisema kila siku, hata saizi nafikiria bilioni 2 ya leo.
Tumeshafikisha wapi? Kama labda tuko 1 point something.
Nafikiria tuko 1 point something billion. By the time inafika saa 4 saa 5, makatels washakula 2 billion. Lakini sisi raia tunaendelea kulipa. So that is what we are having a problem with. Ndio inaona kwamba matajiri wanazidi kutajirika,
maskini wanazidi kuwa maskini. And there's something that's happened. There are two incidents that happened. That time when the president was in Lamu launching the Lamu port, there's a Kenyan. I think it was almost called MWAI like you. Anyway, so he showed up with an ID and you are protesting the lack of employment in the country. Yesterday again, the same thing almost happened in Kisumu. We saw a young man who was running towards the presidential dais and he was complaining about the same thing. Raised this idea, chumi ni mbaya and all these things. What do you think is the pain that the people are feeling at the ground? Even as we speak about all the exploits, the president was telling us about this development record, the project that he has launched and all these other things. As we talk about the rosy picture at the top, how do you think is the feeling on the ground?
Iko shida manake tunaona projects kubwa, barabara za gorofa, tunaona SGR. Lakini kuna ile tunaita trickle down effect. Yule mwananchi kule mashinani bado hajaweza kupata kusikia utamu wa hiyo mnaita economic growth. Kwamba uchumi umepanuka kwa kiwango kikubwa. Lakini ukienda kule mashinani unapata vijana hawana kazi. Siku ya jana tulitarajia president angeguzia idadi ama percentage of the number of young people who are not employed. Haya maneno hatukuyasikia. Tulisikia miradi maridadi. But the things that concern mwananchi kama ajira ya kila siku. 3 square meals, kupata chakula cha mchana, the daily bread. Hatukusikia haya masuala. Kwa hivyo ndio unaona kwamba mambo kule juu ni maridadi, ni safi, unaona yanaweza kudanganya kwa macho.
Lakini hapa chini ni kubaya.
Lakini kule mashinani
za vitu kwa ground.
Wananchi wanalia, nafasi za kazi hakuna. Kisha kukaja corona nayo ikaharibu mahali palikuwa pamebaki, ikaharibu zaidi. Kwa hivyo kuna shida kubwa. Na lazima tuangazie hili swala kwa sababu kila mwaka wanafunzi wakifanya form 4, a whole 1 million young men and women wanatokelezea tena mtaani. Tena the next mwaka end of year tena kuna kuwa na vijana wengine zaidi hata ya 1 milioni. Kwa hivyo hii shida inaenda ikiongezeka. Tusipochukua very deliberate steps, hii shida itaendelea kuwa worse and worse na itakuja kutohaunt kama watu wa Kenya.
So okay, what are some of the things that you do? You've mentioned that you are an economic activist. What does this entail and what is your interaction daily with the citizenry?
So as recent as 3 months ago, there was an opinion poll that was conducted by one of the pollsters and suggested that more than 70% of the Kenyan population are complaining about this debt burden. Raia wanateta, wanasema deni bwana imezidi. So the people down there are all of the opinion that money is being borrowed and it is not being put into proper use. Kuna nafasi ya kukopa pesa kwa sababu majuzi tulisikia pesa ilikopo ya kukabiliana na corona. Kidogo tunasikia makatels ndio wao. Mbio wamepita na ile pesa. President akasema after 21 days kutakuwa kumepatikana ripoti ya hawa makatels na wafisadi hawa ambao wamekula pesa ya umma. Up to now almost 4 months we've had nothing. Hiyo pesa imefuata mkondo ule. Tulisikia NYS 1, hatukuwa na mtu hata mmoja mwenye alifikishwa kotini. Kukaja NYS 2, kukawa na watu wachache ambao walishikwa hapa na kule. Tukatoka pale, tukaenda dams, tukasikia kuna sijui pesa zimepotea wapi. Kulikuwa na mradi mwingine wa Garana Kularu. Tukasikia tena umekwama, pesa zimeenda. And so on and so forth. So mwananchi wa kawaida anateta kuhusu deni la kitaifa. Anasema lazima kufanyike jambo. Kwa sababu hatuwezi endelea hivi. It cannot be business as usual.
Okay.
Yes.
So kwa hiyo hali ya kuweza kuwa na hiyo mzigo sasa, then what has happened? What have you done about it?
Yes. Sasa tuna appreciate, juzi tuliona Kenyans wakifanya petition. Wakaambia IMF, hatutaki mkopeshe serikali ya Kenya pesa zingine.
Na petition ilifika wapi baada ya kukula signature na
petition ilizunguka mitandaoni. Walikuwa na target of 250,000 signatures na waliweza kuzipata. Lakini by the time walikuwa wanazipata, IMF walikuwa washa peana pesa. Lakini zile pesa wanapeana kwa fees. Sasa juzi either wiki hii watapeana another 77 billion. So ile petition, unajua petition sio jina ngumu. Kwa Kiswahili jina petition ni kusema maombi.
Tunaomba serikali. Iwache kuchukua pesa.
Sasa hii ilikuwa tunaomba IMF
iwache kupeana pesa.
Sasa tunasema this is not a sustainable way of dealing with the debt matter. Because there's a thorn in the flesh. Huu ni muiba. Sasa hatuwezi kuwa tunaandika barua za kuomba. Last time tulikuwa tunawaomba IMF. Serikali ya Kenya ikitoka IMF utasikia wako China. Tena tutafuata wa China na barua za maombi. Tena usikia wametoka China wameenda another country, tuseme UK. Tena tutafuata wale na barua. Tena ukienda kule tunaita international money markets. There are very many different types of debt instruments. For example, the Eurobond ile tulichukua, I can tell you for a fact and for free, you cannot tell who gave that money. Huwezi jua ni nani alitukopeshea pesa because inaitwa debt instrument. It is floated in the market, people subscribe. Hata unaweza pata hiyo pesa, huwezi jua ni akina nani, lakini it could be anybody. Kwa hivyo hata ukisema unataka kuandika maombi kwa watu wa Eurobond, haujui uta address nani. Because you cannot point out because it's a debt instrument imekuwa floated. So tunasema lazima tutafute suruhu. Na tuseme lazima tutafute a homegrown solution. Kwa sababu tunaweza tafuta zingine kule nje ambazo hazita fit kwetu hapa nchini. So we have to be very deliberate, very intentional. We look for a homegrown solution to our own problems. Yes.
So let me ask you, sir. Now, a lot of people wamekuwa kishindwa. IMF ni nini? IMF, what is the structure of IMF? And is it actually really possible to stop IMF from lending money? Because it's in the business of lending money. So what is IMF? How does it look like? What is a component of IMF? And how can it be controlled in terms of giving credit to countries like Kenya that we feel are already overburdened with that?
Well, IMF is the short form for International Monetary. IMF and World Bank. International, come on. Yeah? Monetary Fund, come on. It's escaping me, sorry. So, International Monetary Fund, it's an organization. Ambao the status is worldwide. Inafanya kazi dunia mzima. na iko na ufahamu na expertise kuangalia vile watakopa pesa. Lakini nataka hapa watu waelewe ya kwamba sisi kama nchi ya Kenya, we have no problem with borrowing.
Okay.
Our problem is not borrowing.
What is the problem?
Hata ukienda even in our personal lives, hata mimi mwenyewe, I have my own fair share of debts. Nimekopa kwa sako. Niko na ingine nimekopa hapo kwa chama. So the problem is not borrowing per se. The problem is what we do with the proceeds of the loans. Shida sio kukopeshwa.
But I also do different
things.
Ni
vile tunatumia pesa ambazo tumepata kupitia kwa mikopo. Unajua pale awali tulikuwa tunasema our hard earned taxes. Ati taxes zetu ambazo tumezifanyia kazi na tumetoa jasho ndio tupate. Hizo ndio tulikuwa tunasema zinapata kuibiwa.
Okay.
Lakini siku ya leo tunasema our easily procured loans. Madeni yetu ambayo yamepatikana kwa urahisi ndio yanapata kuibi.
Na yanapata kuibia pia kwa urahisi.
Kwa urahisi tena kwa sababu yanapatikana kwa urahisi. Na Wakenya madeni mengine ni ya siri sana, hata huwezi jua. Tunaambiwa zingine ni za security contracts, haiwezi kuwa divulged to the public. Hauwezi ambiwa ni nini tulinunua, ni vifaa gani tulinunua. So there's a lot of secrecy around this borrowing. Number 2, tumeona kama lile deni la SGR. The President of the Republic of Kenya promised kwamba atapeana the debt contract. Ile contract ama ile agreement walifanya na wale walitukopeshea pesa. Na akaambiwa mwanahabari mmoja wa NTV akamwambia, after 2 weeks I will avail the document to you. Okay. It has been more than 3 years. Hatujapata ile document. So we do not know the interest rate ambao tunalipa nao SGR. We do not know hatujui zile tunaita terms and conditions. Okay. So we want to bring transparency, openness in the whole process of borrowing, because that is what is lacking in the whole structure of borrowing. Yes. Okay.
All right. I think that's interesting to have our conversation to have. And also the issues of devolution. There's been some serious cries from devolved units of government on resource allocation. Do you think devolution has helped mwananchi on the ground? Has it helped devolve the funds down? Because as it seems, when you listen to counties talking about their budgeting, most of the budget goes into recurrent expenditures. Yes. So it means then that little money is left to trickle down to the mananchi. Yeah. And it looks like we created more employees in the government, like we expanded the big executive and we brought it down, or we actually developed, people have said we developed thieves, like we brought our thieves down to the ground. What do you think is the state of devolution?
Well, devolution is a very noble idea, a very noble idea, because it's all about taking resources to the people and having the people themselves decide on what to do with the money. So, because initially what used to happen is that people seated in Nairobi in their comfortable offices, they would make plans on what to develop, on what to do with the monies down there for the people. So they were not, the development that were going down were not centered on what the people needed. So devolution, as I've said, is a very noble idea. However, we have issues with the devolution. Number one, you've rightly put it.
Yes.
Bloated wage bill. Kule chini ukienda kule mashinani, unapata kuko na driver or minister, unapata kuko in the national government, kuna department ya agriculture. Ukienda kwa devolution unapata agriculture. Ukienda in the national government, the officers from the Ministry of Education, ukienda devolution, so there's a lot of duplication of duties. Yeah. Okay. Unapata kazi moja kama ni agriculture, there are a whole like 4 or 5 officers ambao wote wako committed to do one thing. Okay. So there's a lot of duplication. And so by the end of the day, ile pesa inaenda kule mashinani, badala iende ifanya maendeleo, inaenda kulipa mishahara. Okay. So that is a serious concern. And governors ingine wanapata shida ya ku lay off, because unajua kuna upande tena wa kisiasa, ukifuta watu kazi unaambiwa ulifuta watu fulani kazi. But if they really wanted to, they can enhance on efficiency. Kwa sababu hata makampuni, ukienda kampuni haiwezi weka watu zaidi ya wale ambao inahitaji, simply to make people happy. But when you come to public sector,
the more we have, the better.
Unapata watu wameajiriwa tu so that they can remain happy. But that is not how it works. The government should be run in such a way. There's what we call best international practices. Yeah, those are the policies we should adopt to make sure that most of the funds get down to do the intended reason, other than paying salaries and making some few people around the administration to be happy, while the masses out there remain desolate and all this. So we really need to put our minds to devolution and see what are the soft spots that are being used to misappropriate funds. We also have a lot of corruption going on in the devolved units. So we want to call upon the DCI and other investigative arms of government, to really up their game and square those issues of corruption down there at the devolution level.
Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Before when you get back, actually, we need to talk about your initiative as well. What it's all about, how is it structured, what do you want Kenyans to do, what are you proposing, and where do you think is Parliament comes? Because they say Parliament is a representative of the people. Yes. They say tulitumana mtu Nairobi. Ama tulitumana Nairobi. Tuma MWAI Nairobi enda atuwakilishe. Anyway, guys, do you think the any debt ceiling conversation should be taken to a referendum? Do you feel like if we need to raise the debt ceiling, we need to take it to a referendum? Na Rebecca, let me look at a few comments from Yaron Deritu. Good morning, GB. Good morning to you. Naona nani pia BONIFACE Cheriot. Good morning. Sami Kosgei. Kimba looked information. Asante sana. Naona Evans. I can see Evans. Okay. Collins. Ohuma Halan. Good morning. Good morning to you. Collins Kipto. Good morning. Well tuned in at Nairobi. Asante. Don Maverick. Good morning. Tuned in from the CBD. Thank you. Kiliavas Kigen. Ian Kipto. Musha Jeremiah Chepkam. Good morning. Following Asante. Jacqueline Chabichi. Logged in from United States of Kiambu. Allah. Okay, Kusimba de Sam, good morning to you. Boni Babatoni, President Walanyasi, good morning to you. Rais Peke, ambaye kuna rais mwingine. Wilson Chelelgo, morning GB, on my way to Nairobi from Nakuru. This road is busy, we need a bigger highway. Wamesema wataka dual carriageway. I just do kwani ulieka SGR, ongeka dual carriageway all the way to Malaba. And we'll come and talk about the projects. How Kenyan projects are oriented, how they decide to make these project investments, what effect does it have on the people? Is it a priority to invest in a double-decker road that runs for 1.5 kilometers or 3 kilometers or 6 kilometers when we can have a whole road at the same cost all the way to Mombasa? Governor P. MUCHENDU ameingia na shati mpya. Haya, Jerry George GG watching from Nairobi, but don't talk of things like wheelbarrow approach. That is brainwash. Wheelbarrow tena. Okay. Good morning. Say I to MWAI, aka Motumaya, my friend from Belbagon. Haya, asante sana. Kimbia pale www.didinde.com uweze kuweka signature yako. You endorse the initiative. Kanan Kipchumba naona Boniface Jenga Kanan, kumbe uko area. Tuko pia jana bitok, we need to meet this guy today. Haya, tutafutane. Odiambo Robinson, good morning. GB watching from Nairobi. Asante. Ezra Mayo following from Doha, Qatar. David Kitut, good morning from Kapsabet. Kibor Bowen live from Webena. Asante sana. Johnson came Kinyua. Good morning tuned in from Banana Kawainda. Please tufikisha ujumbe kwa Kenya Power. Please Kawainda Njaro. Siada. Wada tuna stima for the last 2 days. Now we are on the 3rd day. Bila stima. Please. Stima. Rudisheni stima kwa watu wa Banana. Rosliana. Nasema nitosha Razi Turbo from Turbo watching live. Asante sana. Kirui. 6 on live from Mulo Central Narok County. Judy Nyabaga tuned in from South B. Asante sana. Caleb Bor. Nasema merewe tuko locked mheshimiwa. The guy is so wise. Hata kama gava wata ignore. He will go into East Rubrics as having tried his best. Asante sana Caleb Bor. Salimia watu wa mtaani. Balozi Eric Meja. Sergeya already tuned in. Sergeya sijui wapi kule. Johnson Kinyua tuned in from Banana Kawainda. Asante sana. Deng Lual Banian Ayen. IMF is International Monetary Fund. Asante sana. Kitonga Kinyanjui, collateralization of loans by China. Yuzar Shakim, kijana mwenye good morning to my brother. Branto Jereber wako live. Johnson Kinyua tuned in from Banana Kawainda. Joseph Mutinda, good morning. Bitok watching from Sentikumi, Mombasa, Likoni. Asante sana. Rebecca Karoki, good morning today watching from Nairobi. Asante sana, karibu sana Rebecca Karoki, ni mtu wa Naivasha. Welcome. David Kamau, good morning team Tackle. Gideon Kimutai, good morning to Tackle watching live from Kiambu County. Joel Rama, chairman Diaspora Edition. Some morning love the conversation. Asante. Elizabeth Karanja, morning from Kilifi County. Sami Bes, mheshimiwa kutoka pale Perth, morning from Perth, Australia. Asante sana. Boniface Kilach, naona hapa Zama shall be leaving kesho in the morning. We should link up leo. Tutafutane. Gagifade, good morning to you. Haya, tuende masokoni pale. Nimeona tayari pitisha pale mambo ya sokoni. Tuanza na mambo ya Maridadi. Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari yako kutoka mahali popote unaileta, kama ni Dubai, kama ni Japani, ama kama ni Australia. Kina base pia wako na magari pale zinaweza kutoka Australia. Maridadi Motors gives an opportunity to import direct imports by Maridadi Motors. You can save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import with Maridadi Motors Limited. Watu wanauliza iko wapi? Wale Kiamburu opposite Total Ridgeways utaona kinyumba kikubwa kimeandika Maridadi Motors Limited, na kupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari yako kwa bei nafuu zaidi, na unaweza kusave up to 300,000 shillings when you import with Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors also gives an opportunity to invest. Uweke ile pesa yako kama uko na akiba mahali umeiweka mahali. You can actually save at Maridadi Motors Sacco. Uweze kuiweka pale, una save pesa yako pale. Ikifika kama unataka gari pia unaweza kuchukua na 50%. If you have saved 50% of the value of the car with Maridadi Motors Sacco, unaweza kuchukua gari alafu ile nyingine unaweza kulipia polepole ukiendesha gari lako. Alafu pia kuna ile import to sell. Import to sell is an investment opportunity by Maridadi Motors where you get to invest your money and you get one up to 15% on investment on the amount of money invested at Maridadi direct to import model. Inakupa nafasi pia kuweza kungarisha gari yako. Unajua ukishanunua gari lazima pia ioge. That is Sparkling Motorsport behind Sierra Mall. On Thursdays kama kesho utanipata pale nikipata ukiosha gari yako na kupiga kitchen safi free of charge. Unaweza kuwa na kitchen mzuri sana ya kifungu. Alafu pia Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kujifunza gari through Maridadi Driving Academy. Maridadi Driving, not driving school, Maridadi Driving Academy. Ukiabla pale unafunzwa unakuwa driver maridadi zaidi. Alafu pia Swift Airtime you can load your airtime anytime from anywhere. Go to Baybill number or go to your Baybill, alafu unaweka business number 325325, alafu account number nambari yako ya simu, unakimbia pale. Unaweza hata kama una pesa kwa M-Pesa na uko na kitu inaitwa fuliza, ambaye Kenya pia inafuliza. Kila mtu anafuliza Kenya. Ukifuliza kama uko nafuliza unaweza kununua airtime yako pale, kimbia 325325, unaweka account number kama nambari yako ya simu. Alafu pia kuna watu wa Zigo delivery, mzigo wako inafika haraka upesi na Zigo. You ask we deliver. Anakupa, unaweza piga simu, nambari ya simu iko pale. Wako na boda shwari kabisa, anakimbiza mzigo wako anakuletea kwenye mlango. Hassle free. Unaweza kufanya kazi yako inakuwa rahisi zaidi, ama inakuwa shwari na murwa zaidi. Haya, turudi kazini. Mushendu.
We talk. The traffic nightmare in Ngong Road is something else.
Ewe wacha maneno bwana.
True.
Ni kiongozi ifai kulala sana. Unaamka usiku.
We talk. I had a function in Murang'a at my in-laws.
Murang'a ama ulikuwa umeenda Kisumu?
Hapana, nilikuwa nimeenda Murang'a at my in-laws. One of my friends' vehicle broke down and I got home very late. I had dedicated to you that might actually affect my timing today. But we respect the tacklers so much that no matter what,
you must show up.
We must show up. You would rather show up late but than be no show. So I'm here and we do what
Happy
we
Madaraka.
do best. Happy Madaraka to you.
Is it Madaraka? Is it still?
You know, the beauty about this is that next year Madaraka, the president will have to indicate. And by the way, people should know this. The next Madaraka, the president oversights, will be his last public function as the president of the republic. No, the next one, he officiates. It will be his last public event as the president of the republic. Najua hiyo hashtag amaliza aende. Sasa hiyo time itakuwa so alive. And he will not say in this Madaraka day. He will profoundly say, in this my final public engagement. To not just be a Madaraka, it will be a final official public engagement for the president. And I echo the words put by the Star newspaper 2 weeks ago that the president is going to live a messed economy. He's going to live a country that has crazy debts with the outside world. But he has 1 year to actually leave a legacy. And I think probably the only thing we will remember Uhuru Kenyattas with is the expressway to the airport. The one he's doing from James Geshoro all the way to the airport. Probably that is the only time we will remember. But in any case, how many Kenyans use the international airport? But anyway, let me not start bashing the president this morning. I'm happy the Hustler Nation was well received in Kisumu. That was the show taker for yesterday. I mean, you always expect these fracas. And I'll tell you that the people of Kisumu, the people of Kondele, they have shown patriotism. That you may not necessarily like a person, you may not necessarily be voting for a person, but it does not make you a lesser human being to show respect to a leader. That was a take home for me yesterday. Yes.
Do you think the same thing should be reflected across the country?
Yes. Let me tell you, the last time Raila Odinga visited Limuru, it was quite a number of years ago, but we were in the front line to mobilize people to come and listen to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I think I'll probably try and get those videos. But at that time he visited Limuru Bitok. We accorded him the respect he deserves as a national leader. And that should be the norm. It should be replicated everywhere. That as much as you may not agree on principle with a certain leader, or you don't agree on economic values he propagates, mutual respect should be a common thing all around the country. That even if Raila goes to Murang'a, if he goes to where, let him be accorded the respect that a leader should be accorded. We may not necessarily agree with you, but respect does not know color, respect does not know tribe. Let it. I am so proud by the people, from the people of Kisumu City, for the respect and the honor they accorded the deputy president. And I am very sure that we must have a few elements who may have wanted to cause havoc. But the people of Kisumu rose above those nonsense and accorded the DP the respect he deserves as the DP.
Okay. So what do you have to make about the president's speech? In his speech, he was very categorical as well on his opinion on the court ruling. And he said he does not support it. And he said the constitution should not be seen to be a yoke on our necks. You know, and he said that the president, the courts are using the constitution to slow down the government. And he said that we lost billions of money when the Supreme Court, or Maraga at that time, nullified the general election in 2017. I mean, it came out as an emotional president.
I think it's very unfortunate for me that the drafters of the speech yesterday allowed the president to express his personal opinions on the matter constitution, because I believe that Justice Maraga was presented with a case where he felt there were mistakes that were made. Some of us did not agree with that ruling. And we have never agreed. Personally, I've never agreed with the ruling Justice Maraga did. But I have not agreed, but I have always respected that the courts have a jurisdiction over these matters. And it is not every day I will walk into the corridors of justice and walk away with what I want as a person. And I think that is what the president needs to understand, that you cannot make a public pronouncement in a public holiday to critique the courts because they have made a decision that did not augur well with you. I think for me is that the president ought to have expressed his frustrations that things did not go his way, and probably profoundly wish the Court of Appeal is going to actually turn the decision by the High Court. In that narrative, I would have agreed with the president with his regrets that things have not gone the way they wanted, and express his hopes that the Supreme Court the Court of Appeal might overturn the decision. But critiquing the corridors of justice, I don't think that is the right way. When the president, the symbol of national unity, the head of the executive, which is one of the three arms in government, stands on a national holiday in a speech televised in the entire nation to criticize the courts, it says so much about how much this government is putting value on this. Because let me tell you, if the executive continues with that trend of actually downgrading the justice system, criticizing them, putting questions on the things they do, then we are heading slowly into a state of anarchy. Because Kenyans, if the president cannot respect the wishes of the court, what do you think about the simple Kenyan who is out there? What are you telling that Wanjiko that is in Marsabit? That tomorrow if he goes to court and the court loses against him, he can just decide to take the law in his hands. So I think for me, as the president who is recognized by the constitution as the symbol of national unity, the president should propagate things that are going to see the three arms of government work together. The president is the symbol of national unity. He should display that. He should not be agitating Kenyans to riot against our courts. He should not be agitating Kenyans to actually see judiciary as our enemy. Let me tell you, as a common mwananchi who may not have another avenue, the last redress for common mwananchi is the judicial system of this country. And the moment the president casts aspersions on the judiciary, you are telling Kenyans they should no longer trust the judiciary. They should no longer trust the process of our justice system, which is very unfortunate to be talked. I wish the president's tone and the wording of his speech ought to have been done differently. But what they did yesterday was an outrightly cast the courts. In fact, I fear for the new Chief Justice. You're getting into the hot seat when the executive is actually turning the fire to the judiciary. So I think for me, if you ask me, that speech was very cold. It was not resonating well with some of us. It is a blow to the justice system. It is unfortunate because I would say that speech was simply meant to actually to stir up emotions of Kenyans so that they can see the judicial system as the enemy. But I want to pray that Kenyans, especially those mamambogas and those people who actually come to seek legal redress to the justice system, will not reason to the president critique the judiciary. Let us trust that our systems are good. Let us trust that our system can actually, sometimes who appoints the judges of the High Court?
It's a competitive process.
It's a competitive process. And finally, the person who gets the last say of whether you get appointed is the president. The names are proposed by the JSC to the president, and then the president will forward them to parliament for actually normal approval by parliament. So when you are telling us that the justice system has failed, we are going to go back and look at how did we get these judges. You as the president had a role to play. When these judges have been, and I can tell you, the president has overseen appointment of High Court judges in their numbers, appointment of Court of Appeal judges in their numbers. And I think for me, is that the president ought to, instead of coming to do what we call public outburst, he ought to sit down as we expect the three arms of government. We do not expect them to corroborate, but we expect them to work in harmony toward the betterment of this country. And I can tell you without fear of contradiction, the president reading that speech to the public, that is not working in harmony.
All right. I don't know what your thoughts are, MWAI.
Yes.
What do you think about the president's speech? And again, what does it? What kind of? What does it tell us about the future obedience of court orders? Because he's almost telling us that I'm not gonna listen to these guys again. We have a tribune sitting today on the same issue. Do you think the president then, with what he has said, with what he has expressed already, do you think as we move forward is going to honor the court?
Well, to borrow the words of Bwana Muchendu, I think it was quite unfortunate for the president to bash and to attack the judiciary just a day after he had intimated that with the likes of the lawyers, the likes of James Orengo and the rest, they were assured of a win in the corridors of justice. And everybody was hopeful that they would pursue the route of the rule of law. Just a day later, maybe he was reading a speech that was done by someone else. Maybe those were not his thoughts, because it is a contradiction of sorts.
Okay.
Today, you tell us you want to pursue an appeal and the legal system. Then a day later, you are displaying a totally different approach to what you had promised us.
Okay.
So it is quite unfortunate. But the good thing is that if you read Article 160 of the Constitution, it talks expressly about the independence of the judiciary. And the people of Kenya, in their own wisdom, were enacting the new constitution. If you read Article 255(2), the independence of the judiciary is fortified. It is well anchored. You cannot tamper with it. And if you so wish to tamper with it, you have to go through the people, through a national referendum, and ratify decisions to tamper with the independence of the judiciary. So the best thing is that our judicial officers are informed as much, and so they know, yes, we expect harassment, intimidation, but the law has protected us quite well. And the people of Kenya has fortified us, has put a strong wall against any interference. So judicial officers and judges in particular can go ahead and make rulings based on the rule of law, guided by the Constitution and by the evidence that has been provided before them. So there is no point of worry, because as the Constitution stands, we've seen very deliberate efforts by the state, the government of the day, failing to allocate enough budgetary allocations to the judiciary. In fact, most of the projects you see being done by the judiciary are donor funded. The executive has been very cold towards the judiciary, and I believe maybe it's in line with what the president said, that they would revisit at some point. So the judiciary has been attacked, and but it will stand the test of time. So do
you think the president is going to obey the court orders as they come? Because he's shown that we look at KMC, for instance. Last week he launched KMC, despite a standing court order that KMC should be reverted back to the relevant ministry. He still went ahead and launched it. Now, from the comments that he made yesterday on his speech, do you think if the results that are going to come out of the court of appeal are not favorable, do you think he's going to obey the court order?
Yeah, the president's body language really betrays him about obeying court orders. I think he's not prepared to abide by the directions of the court, which is really unfortunate, because it affects our journey. Because this is a journey we have embarked on, a journey to make our society a society that is governed and guided by the rule of law. So when the president, and you see, leadership is by example.
Yes.
You might use a lot of words, but what a leader gets to carry the day is the example you portray to the people you are leading. So it is unfortunate that the president has shown outright defiance of court orders, and it's not just a single court order. We've seen several from the Miguna issue, coming to the appointment of the 41 judges. Now we have the issue of KMC, plus many other cases that many other pronouncements, even going forward to the vetting of cabinet secretaries, the appointment to state corporations. The court has pronounced itself that those people are not properly recruited into office. But we've not seen the president abiding by any of them. And so I think there's a lot of... the relationship is not cordial.
Okay.
And I think it should be worked on so that going forward as a nation, because there shall be a nation by the name Kenya after the 2022 elections, even 100 years from now, we shall still be having a country called Kenya. So we need to work on that culture for posterity, so that we can have a nation that will hold even long after us, we have left the scene.
Okay. Let's look at the YouTube guys. The guys from YouTube, great conversation. Good morning, Peter. Good morning to you. James Mwangi, good morning, Peter. Thanks for the bringing great mind in the Takola Center. And Jerry Gishuri, good morning, Peter. Following the conversation, and the gentleman is making lots of sense. As Kenyans, we must be held responsible for actions or inactions. James Mwangi Sama Salimia Mwai, Asante. Stephen Mayo, Gerald, we are in touch, guys. Asante. Thank you so much, the guys from YouTube. I appreciate you. Let me look at what the guys think about the president's speech. Sagon Kiblaka said the president's speech was the low moment of the Madaraka celebrations. He was angry and patriotic, a behemoth of the disrespect for other arms of government. Ruta just alluded to aspiration for a democratic Kenya and not a nation of personality cults, and Uhuru fell into that trap once again. Even the Simba protocol was a tall order for Uhuru. I mean, actually, Uhuru Kenyatta invited Raila Odinga to speak last after him. The deputy president invited him to speak. This Martin, good morning to Takol, sorry. Following from Utawala, asante sana, thank you the guy from Utawala, huyo mheshimiwa Utawala Porinchero. But Muchendu, I saw you with hooligans who burnt a building in Deya. Is that not breaking the law? You have been tackled. Okay, I'll be back to you. Sakon Kiblaka says Kisumu showed maturity and accorded all the leaders at most respect. The Asla star was latent and Ruta's speech that was very statesman-like. Just wonder, it was like the worst speech Uhuru was ever made ever since I voted for him 3 times. Okay. Alalanga, the president was trying to incite the people against the judiciary. Hopefully the new CJ as a spine and will stand up and defend the judiciary's independence. But tuned in, the president should be neutral in his action and speech. Cleveland Otieno, that was going too low, but a sign of things to come with regards to obeying court orders or is it pronouncements on matters executive. Okay. That's what people think about the president's speech. James Mwanda, the speech was embarrassing. You should not air out dirty linen in front of our guests. Okay. Asante. Well said. Kudos to the people of Kisumu. Asante. Joel Arama sama ambia governor anunue chopa. Governor Ben Water, morning from Ottawa. Touch about president's speech yesterday. P and Muchendu. Asante. Okay, naona. Okay, naona pia Mose kanasema Uhuru is just childish. Ala. We, wanasema alikuwa na bana na magoons.
Well, that was it on Monday? Yes, it was on Monday. Was it on Monday? Do I even can't recall it was which day, but it was last week. And I remember in the morning I was taking my daughter to school, and I received a call from a friend of mine called Shuja, and he told me it's a group. We have a WhatsApp group with some friends where we visit our parents. And one of our members called Willie Karanja's business was being burnt down at a place called Deru Shopping Center. So he told me, Muchendu, because you're near, what do we do? So when he called me, I told him, let me make a call, and I made a call to the OCS Tigoni Police Station. And I informed him that some border guys are burning down a business. At time, I did not even know why the business was being banned. So the OCS did us the honorable thing and sent his officers in their numbers quickly today. And by the time we got there, his meat business was already raised down. The reason they were doing that, about a week previously, there was a border rider called Jenga that had been missing for 1 week. And his motorbike was confiscated at the border, Namanga border. And the 2 Maasais who were employed in that business were the one caught with the motorbike. So the border guys wanted this Maasai to produce Jenga, who is the owner of the bike. And that morning, after a search of a week, Jenga's body was found buried behind that business at the pit where they throw the rubbish. That is where Jenga's body was found burned. I'm informed previously they wanted to search the building because the 2 people found with the border were staying there, but the owner refused that the building be searched, probably because of the security of whatever he has invested. So when the border guys found the body behind the building, and coupled with the fact that they felt that they were denied an opportunity to search the building, they laced it down. So we got there in time, just in time before they rushed to burn his main house. But unfortunately, so they had already burned his vehicles, about 4 of them.
Wow.
They were raced down, some tippers and some lorries and small vehicles. We managed, the Kiambu County Commander Ari Nuno managed to come in time, and we stopped them from burning the main house.
Okay.
But nonetheless, away from, we know we always have people who are ready to do heinous act, people who are ready to seek mob justice and what have you. And we thank God because Jenga's place had CCTV. So any person involved in the raising down of the vehicles and properties, action will be taken. Nonetheless, we must also address the issues of our border guys and their security. And we must also address how the police handles the border guys, because how the police is handling border guys all over the country, you are making them agitated and you are creating a very, very dangerous trend. Because that day, they wanted the police to come and investigate, and they thought the police were slow, so they decided to do a peaceful demonstration 2 days before Jenga's body was found. What the police did is they came, dispersed them, took all their borders, about 40 of them, and took them, and they were locked in a police station. Some of them were beaten with those rungus. You find someone's border has to go and get another 50,000 to repair that motorbike. And one of the reasons why personally I was there, and whoever may have seen me, you know, that person who saw me, unless you are deaf,
I also saw you.
Yes, unless you are deaf. Yes, unless you are deaf, you should have reason into how I prosecuted my case. And my case was, how do you take 40 borders because of a peaceful demonstration and put them in a police station? And you expect our border guys, who most of them are hand to mouth, what do you expect them to eat? You are telling us you want those people to be beating us at night because they have to eat, and you have taken their properties and put them there. And I want to profoundly thank the county commander and the area member of parliament, MWAI, who is the chairman of National Security Committee, because they personally came and oversaw the return of all those motorbikes without incidences. So I want to tell whoever has seen me, I was not with goons. I was with the members of the public from my village, and you owe me an apology for calling my fellow members of the public goons. They are not goons. These are citizens who are seriously affected. I'll tell you, we talk. Jenga's, we buried his mother sometimes back. We buried the sister sometimes back. He is the only surviving in the family, and now he's dead. And I'm telling you, he was one of, you know, those people who are loved in their villages. If today you come to the to the burial committees in the evening, I passed there the day before yesterday, and I found about 500 people in the burial committee. Wow. It is. He was one of the people entrusted by so many people to deliver goods in their homes and everything. And it's unfortunate that he has been slain. The autopsy has shown that Jenga was slain like a goat. Wow. He was cut, the throat cut, so many deep cuts on the head, and it's unfortunate. We will be laying him to rest on Friday, and we must now ask the police that in every police station now there has to be a unit that deals with the issues of border, because Bitok, I don't know if you live somewhere near the village, there is 100 and hundreds of cases with border. And I will say this profoundly, and I will look at the people who are dealing with the business of border. Bitok, there is a syndicate that is now going to terrorize the youth of this country. Bitok, you go to a business, you're given a border on a hire purchase. Once you have paid about 80%, I'll tell you, you go to Tigoni police station, you go to Kiambu, you go to Thika, 70% of the theft, border theft, it is motorbikes that are on hire purchase, that have already done over 70% of the pay. You know, when you are on hire purchase, you don't have the logbook, and you don't have the tracking of that motorbike.
Yeah.
So it is not by mistake, it is not by coincidence that borders that have paid over 70% and are on hire purchase are the ones that are disappearing. There is a syndicate between the people who sell motorbikes and the people who actually second these people to come and buy these motorbikes. That you pay 80%, na boda yako inapotea, you can't trace it, you don't have the logbook, and that is ahead of you. So the police must investigate what is the connection of the people dealing with borders and
those giving
the credit, because it is not a coincidence, and that is something that needs to be looked at. Because even that one for Jenga, it was on hire purchase, 80% was paid. We are actually, you would ask yourself how it was discovered in Namanga. The people who stole it had an accident, and the police had to be involved. And fortunate for us, there was a police officer who used to work in Deya. So when these guys intimated that they bought the border in Deya, the policeman made some calls back home. And in fact, he was told there is a missing border. They were told to do photos of the border and send it home. That's how we discovered that that was the motorbike owned by Jenga. So I think the police needs to take the border people seriously. They are not as evil as the police has perceived them to be.
Okay. All right. I'm saying, Geoffrey Odiamba, good morning, my brother. Bitok, I'm very happy. All what I planned yesterday to embarrass the deputy president, my next president, didn't work. We are ahead of them all, and they said, Mwangi Waweru, Salimia Muchendo, James Mwangi, as it is, the president is pursuing a route that we do not expect. BBI may pass even if the court makes a decision that is contrary to the law. We come back to the basis of the discussion. We want you to take us through your initiative, sir. What it envisions to do, how you want to go about it, and how you wish Kenyans to be part of it.
All right. Thank you so much, Gerard. So we've put our thoughts to this. Yeah. And this is what I want to tell my fellow countrymen. We have a solution to the public debt menace. Okay. Lend me your ears for the next few minutes. Okay. Let me first do some background teaching. There's something we call a country's debt ceiling. A country's debt ceiling is the highest amount that the state has been allowed to borrow by Parliament on behalf and in the name of Kenyans. For example, previously, before the last adjustment, it was supposed to be 50% of the GDP. So the GDP is the entire output of a nation. We can loosely say it's the wealth of a country. So previously it was supposed to stand at 50%. But sometimes around last year, Parliament amended that part of the law through what we call the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. It is what has mandated Parliament. If you read it together with Article 211 of the Constitution, it is what has mandated Parliament to be in charge of setting our country's debt ceiling. And so they moved the debt ceiling from 50% of the GDP to an abstract figure of Kenya shillings 9 trillion. So, loosely saying, this is the amount that the government of Kenya can borrow. Or, besides borrowing, it is the amount of money the government of Kenya can guarantee, because governments do guarantee entities like maybe corporations or state corporations or parastatals. They can borrow money, but the guarantor to these loans is the government of Kenya. So if you read Article 211, between Article 210 to 214, it enumerates the whole issue about public debt. So we've seen our debt rising by the day. The debt burden has ballooned exponentially from a figure of 1.8 trillion when President Kibaki left office, to now we are working with figures of around 8.4 trillion, or we could be even past that, because if you were to put into consideration the amount of pending bills, so maybe you have even surpassed the debt ceiling. So we've seen concerned Kenyans try to address this thing. What we've seen in the past few days was a public petition to the IMF begging the IMF not to lend the Kenyan government money. But as I have said earlier, petitions, prayers, begging, requests are not a sustainable way of addressing the debt issue. We've come up with a solution, and the solution we've dubbed it idhini. Idhini is the Swahili word for consent. And this is what we are proposing, that the law must be amended urgently to make it mandatory, to make it compulsory for the state to seek the consent of the people. Because ultimately, it is the people, it is you listening to me today who will be tasked to repay that money. And it is also imperative to note that we are not against public borrowing. We know nations around the world borrow. What we have a serious problem is misappropriation of borrowed funds. Because there are people called cartels and some other people who worked on behalf of government who have found an easier way of mortgaging our lives. For example, I'll give you an example, Bitok. We have a dam that was supposed to be constructed in Nakuru County. The name of the dam is Itare Dam. And the government of Kenya procured a loan from an Italian creditor by the name Intesa Sao Paulo, headquartered in Turin, Italy. The loan is supposed to be paid at an interest rate of 4.6%. And the maturity date of the loan is September 10th, the year 2034. As we are speaking today, construction works have been suspended at the Itare Dam. Equipments and machineries have been auctioned, have been attached by auctioneers. And what we are saying is that there will be nothing by the name Itare Dam. But the loan to Intesa Sao Paulo remains outstanding. So what we are saying is that the people of Kenya will continue repaying a loan to the tune of 15 billion. And that is the principal amount. Okay. If you add the 4.6% interest, cumulatively, it will be about 25 billion. Mm-hmm. So the people of Kenya have been mandated and tasked to pay a loan that they got absolutely no value for. Mm-hmm. So this is what we are saying, and this is our argument. And kindly listen to me. If you read Article 255 of the Constitution, Part 2, when we promulgated the new constitution in the year 2010, we delegated some powers to the government, either the executive arm of government, others to the legislature, and others to other arms of government, like the devolved units. Once we go to the voting, we delegate some of our powers to those arms of government to exercise those powers on our behalf. Yeah. But the people of Kenya, in their own wisdom, they withheld 10 matters. And they said, of these 10 matters, we are not going to delegate to any arm of government. We are not going to delegate to any institution. These are matters that we as the people of Kenya must ratify if they have to be amended, if they have to be altered, if they have to be meddled with. And let me give you the 10 matters. I'll give you 5 of them.
Please.
Number 1, you cannot touch on the territory of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot move the beacons that mark our territory even an inch without a referendum. Okay. And that is something the people of Kenya said, this one we are not going to delegate to anyone. Number 2, the Bill of Rights. The people of Kenya said, we cannot allow anyone to debate or to alter or to amend the Bill of Rights on our behalf. If the Bill of Rights is to be amended, that decision must be ratified by the people. Okay. Number 3, as we had alluded earlier, independence of the judiciary. You cannot touch the independence of the judiciary without the express consent of the people. So if you want to, we've had the president making a lot of noise around. There's nothing much he can do to the independence of the judiciary until the people of Kenya themselves ratify that decision.
Okay.
Number 4, you cannot extend the term of office of the president, even by a single day. The next election is due on 9th, the second Tuesday of every 5th year. So once we hit that date, nobody, not even parliament, has powers to extend the term of office of the president. Okay. Maybe in a war situation, that one would be an isolated case. But in normal circumstances,
nobody.
Only the people of Kenya. That is matter number 4. Number 5, you cannot amend the object, the structure of devolution without the people. Parliament can debate that, but they cannot ratify. The only people who can ratify are the people of Kenya. So it is the same argument that we are basing when it comes to the matters of public debt. Because as we are talking now, the main...
you want to make it the 11th matter?
We want to make it the 11th matter.
That cannot be touched without a referendum.
The issue of public debt, kindly seek the express consent of the ultimate repayers. Because, let me give you a very interesting angle. You borrow money, the president himself of the Republic of Kenya has admitted as much, regrettably, that every single day we lose a whooping 2 billion shillings to cartels and some few politically correct individuals. So, in short, what is happening, people are borrowing money in our name because they are easily procured.
Okay.
You just carry the name of Kenyans and go to them and get those lenders, commit the rest of the 47 million Kenyans to repay loans that ended up in some few people's pockets. Betalk, if that is not slavery, I'm yet to find a better definition of the word slavery. Article 30 of the Constitution guarantees against slavery and forced labor. I've given you an example of Referendum. We have been burdened with the debt for the next 13 years, up to 10th September 2034, to repay a loan that we cannot identify a project that was undertaken with that money. The money is gone. There's no project that was brought to completion. The debt is accruing interest. Yeah. So we are going to continue. For example, I come from Nakuru. The people of Nakuru were promised that that dam would solve all their water problems now and forevermore.
Eternally.
They would do irrigation through that dam. They would have their domestic issues with water sorted out, and all the other matters that relate to water problems. Okay. And in Nakuru, we have some dry parts of Nakuru. For example, Rongai constituency is a semi-arid part of Nakuru County, Gilgil and Naivasha. So, and even Nakuru West constituency, and even Nakuru Town constituency itself has perennial water problems. We had been promised that Referendum would solve and square all the problems relating to water. Okay. Now, what we have is an outstanding loan, but no water. So, I think even the previous state was better where we had no water and still we had no loan. Now we don't have water.
And you have a loan.
We have a loan that is accruing interest.
Kiu kuliko kiu na loan.
Sasa ni kiu na loan. Tuliambiwa dam, tukapata deni. Sijui hiyo mchezo ilichezewa wapi. So this is what we are saying. If the government wants to adjust, because as I was saying, the CS in charge of National Treasury has written to Parliament that they want Parliament to consider adjusting further upwards our debt ceiling from 9 trillion to anything between 12 trillion and 15 trillion. And I'm reliably informed that even the state is considering scrapping entirely the debt ceiling. They want it to be an open check. Any moment they wake up and they feel they want to borrow, it's just going forward and borrowing the funds. Number 2, there's a new aspect that has been brought up by the Chinese when it comes to borrowing national or public debts. Something we call collateralization. Collateralization is whereby you demand security for a loan advanced. In our personal lives, if we want to borrow money from a financial institution, probably you avail if you are lucky enough, you have a car, you avail your logbook, your title deed, or you attach your salary, and all manner of things. Now the Chinese have introduced the concept of collateralization of public debt. So they care less what you do with the proceeds of the loan.
For them, they have a backup,
provided
which is collateral. Okay.
you avail a collateral. And this is not the first thing this is happening. In Sri Lanka, we have a perfect case study. The government of Sri Lanka, through their president then, by the name Rajapaksa Mahinda, they borrowed money. They did a very ambitious port by the name Habantota. A white elephant in every sense of that word.
Kenya SSTR.
Yeah, after some few months, they were not able to. They did a port, and they also did a very big, fabulous cricket stadium. And it was built in a locality whereby there were not even enough number of people to fill up the stadium.
Okay.
Shortly after, the government was not able to service the loan. And guess what happened? The port was attached to the Chinese, plus another 16,000 acres of land next to the port. A very strategic point. So this is something that is due to happen in Kenya.
As we speak, actually, it has now been turned into an administrative center of China. And it has a passport.
Where? Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka passport.
Yes.
Yeah. It's now an administrative...
a protective territory of China today.
Yeah, so what that one means, the sovereignty of the people of Sri Lanka is being jeopardized by loans.
Okay.
And this is something that might happen also to us. So what we've proposed is, let us do a constitutional amendment to Article 255(2). Let us make the issue of upward adjustment of
loans. Public debt.
Debt ceiling be a matter that must be ratified by the people. And let me tell you why we thought about that in that angle. Parliament, as we are speaking, is the one tasked, is the one mandated by the Constitution and also by the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 to regulate, to formalize, to oversight the way the government borrows, and also to set the debt ceiling. Now we have a scenario. We've had more than enough examples. We know parliamentarians get bribed. They have also admitted, regrettably, that they get some deal sweeteners around parliament for they to adjust to adapt or reject a motion. Right? Bwana Governor. We know that our parliamentarians receive kickbacks.
In the toilet, to be
precise. The other day, we saw the president offering to MCAs a whooping 4.5 billion shillings in form of car grants.
But did they ever get it?
Yes.
The MCAs got the 2 million.
They did.
Yes, they did. Because already it was a loan that was advanced to them. And so it was simply converted from a loan to a grant. Kwamba hii deni tumekupea. And the amount ulikuwa umelipa, you can recoup it. So,
early Christmas.
This is what we are saying. Parliament can no longer oversight the state when it comes to borrowing. And this is not something we are speaking about hypothetically. It's something we've seen.
It's a reality.
It's a reality we are living with. The next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the debt ceiling is to be adjusted from 9 trillion to anything that they'll tell us, maybe 12 trillion, 15 trillion. And now that it will be coming towards the tail end of this government's term, that's a very serious move.
Okay.
Look at this year's budget. What we project to collect from our local means, we project to collect 1.7 trillion. The government is budgeting for a whopping 3.6 trillion. So they have a budget deficit of close to 2 trillion. Where do they get these funds from? They want to borrow. So what we are saying, let us get a moment when we reflect on what has happened with what we've done with the previous proceeds. Before we further adjust upwards, let us stop, look back, reflect. What did we do with the 3 trillion that we borrowed? Let us do an audit, right? Let us do an audit. We can even commission private international firms to do an audit of what happened to the proceeds. For example, we do not know what happened with the SGR loan. There were also reports around the Eurobond, you can recall. Some people said the money never got home.
Yes.
Even the Auditor General then, Mr. Oko, said all that he can attest is that the money got home, but what the projects that were undertaken by those proceeds, he was not sure about their existence.
Okay.
So we cannot allow this culture to continue, whereby we just hit the debt ceiling, we pass on the burden of repaying loans to Mwananchi, then we heap more loans. That is a very bad culture. We need to get to a point whereby we can stop and reflect. Are these loans helpful to us? Is there a better way that we would have utilized these loans? But when we open the highway to borrowing, you just heap loans upon commercial loans. Now we've gotten to a point whereby out of the 1.6 trillion that we collect, more than 1 trillion is committed to repayment of debt.
Okay.
What that one means by extension, we are putting the payment of basic salaries, basic services. We are really putting them in a very precarious position. Because it means if you are to borrow, like your debt repayment per year gets to a point like 1.5 trillion, it means all that we'll be collecting shall be channeled to paying debts. So that one means you cannot procure drugs, you cannot pay teachers. Imagine a scenario whereby police officers were to go on strike because
there's no salary.
Because there are no salaries. So we're also putting our country in a very bad shape. So let us have a discussion around this thing, and this is what we are calling idhini. If we want to push it further, let us bring this discussion mtaani, let people discuss. For example, as in Nakuru, we have a loan of 15 billion that we are going to pay for the next 13 years that we got no value for. But we've been committed to repaying it. That's why when you go to the supermarket, the price of basic commodities are way up there. The prices of fuel. You have also seen what we call exchange rate fluctuations. And because we borrow in dollars, we borrow in foreign currency. So it means our debt, when our shilling, our currency is affected by the forces of demand and supply of the foreign currencies, automatically what happens is that the value depreciates. And I'll give you a very practical example. In the last 1 year alone, our debt burden has shot up by 274 billion on account of exchange fluctuations. It means just because the shilling depreciated against the dollar, our loan burden shot up by 274 billion. That is not money that we received, but we are going to repay it because our shilling is depreciating in value day in, day out. Okay. So we have to be sober. And the soberness is what we are calling idhini. Let us pause. Let the government come to the people. We have seen them doing it with the BBI. Why not come to us when they are talking about debts? Yeah.
So how do you want Kenyans to be part of this, and what is the roadmap that you've shaped for this initiative? Where will it end? Will it end up in the same parliament that you want to cut their fingers?
Well, that's a very nice question. You see, these members of parliament, the relationship that exists between members of parliament and the voters is what we call an agency relationship.
Okay.
Ni kama hii ya nyumba, agent na mwenye nyumba. So we are the bosses with the people.
Okay.
So what we've done, we have donated some of our powers to parliament. And if we have the power to donate, then we also have the power to recall. If we have the power to delegate, we have the power to withdraw. So what we are saying, there's a very clear provision in our constitution, Article 257, what we call the popular initiative. With the people of Kenya, we feel this debt thing has become a thorn in the flesh. We need to address it.
Okay.
And we have a mechanism that we have developed, we have formulated. So we need to collect signatures pursuant to Article 257 from at least 1 million registered voters as endorsements. That is what the Constitution tasks promoters. If you come up with an idea, go out there, seek 1 million signatures from, at least 1 million signatures from registered voters. Once you have them, you forward them to the IBC, like what we saw happening with the BBI. Once they are verified to be of real people who are registered voters, then you formulate a bill. The bill will be forwarded to all the 47 counties. If more than 24 of the county assemblies adopt your recommendations, then they will follow the other part of the law that recommends, that demands that it must go to the National Assembly, then to the Senate. And if the law demands that that matter must be ratified by the people, then it will be brought up to the people through a referendum. And this is a very simple process. We have an online portal. If you just open from your phone, www.idhini.com, or you just type idhini.com, it's going to direct you to a page. www.idhini.com. It's going to direct you to a page. That page has got more information. You can familiarize yourself with what we are saying first. And then there's a form that will capture your details, your ID number, whether you are a registered voter, the county you come from, and other personal details. Then we've come up with a very innovative, we've used a lot of brains to bring up that technology. There's somewhere you can append your signature. You can literally sign. And once you've done that, collectively, once we get at least 1 million signatures, we'll be good to go.
Okay.
We amend the Constitution so that if you want to borrow money using my name, come to me. Because ultimately, it's me who will pay the loan, not my member of parliament.
Okay. So after you've collected the signatures, what happens now?
You forward them to the IBC for verification.
Okay.
Just like what we saw with the BBI process. Yeah, once they are verified and found to be belonging to registered voters and Kenyan citizens, then they'll be forwarded to all the county assemblies, and the due process will follow. And we shall have ourselves a new law that will demand, will make it mandatory for the state to come to the people to seek the express consent.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya, naona hapa hata mimi nimewekelea signature yangu ya dini. Okay. So you guys are looking at the referendum.
Yes.
You want to go on a referendum?
We want to go on a referendum.
Okay.
Every time we want to adjust the ceiling. Yes. We cannot, this is a very noble thing that we cannot allow people to be doing on our behalf.
No be talk, as he has said, as Kenyans, there are things that we have not delegated to the elected public officials to do on our behalf. And I want to look at the culture where when Kenyans have issues they want to change in our constitution, be talk. I heard the deputy president propose that we need to have a referendum law. And this referendum law, I think, is important so that we also deal with the issues of referendum as we are dealing with the general election. Okay. That way it is going to save this country money from doing haphazard referendums. Like now, my brother here, what they are proposing, it is a very ripe time to sell the idea and probably attach that referendum to the general election. That way the changes will come as a new government is coming in and they have to conform with the changes. So I think for me is that we we refuse to delegate some things to elected officials, but we need to have a galvanized way of doing referendums. And therefore, I think it is important to have a referendum act in Kenya. You know, I don't know how far, last year, if I'm not mistaken, there is a bill that came to Parliament that was going to establish the Debt Management Authority in Kenya. It was published in 2020, and it went through the first reading in Parliament. I don't know how far that has gone. And Bitok, next time when we come, we may want to discuss the content of the Debt Management Authority. That is a bill. It is a bill of 2020 that is in Parliament today. I know that for a fact. And we see what are the responsibilities of the Debt Management Authority, because it doesn't make sense to take loans that compared to our GDP is just crazy. It's just crazy. How do you do a budget of 3-point-something trillion with a deficit of 2 trillion? There are things that don't make sense. And I don't know what are the economics behind it, or who are the people. In fact, we should interrogate Bitok to know who are the people who actually advise the president on economy. We need to know. During Kebake's time, Bitok, we knew Kina David D were the top people. We knew he had perfect leaders like Professor Njuguna Ndongo as the in charge of the central bank. These are the people who are able to. I mean, did we not see Moi Kibaki do huge infrastructural development with minimal loans? Yeah. So for me, you cannot convince me that the president has overborrowed, so that we are able to actually do infrastructure project Bitok. It cannot, and you cannot tell me, and you cannot give me a credible reason why the president has moved our loans to 2.1 trillion in 2013 to, as of September 2020, our loan was standing at 7.1 trillion. Yes. And by the time Uhuru is done, Bitok, we will be, if the parliament goes ahead and ratifies the decision to actually extend the loan ceiling, this government is expected by the time it leaves next year in August, it's going to leave us at 12.2 trillion in debt. Now, I pity for the person who comes after Uhuru as a president. Because you have your work cut out for you. Because I was expecting that this year after Corona, the government would take advantage to renegotiate some of these loans, to renegotiate some of the terms of repayment. Because this year alone, the financial year that is about to come to an end, we were supposed to spend about 900 billion repaying loans. All of us know that if you want to pay public debt, it is paid from the consolidated fund.
Yeah, and we call it a fast charge.
A fast charge.
You've paid before everything else.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And where does the consolidated fund feed from? It feeds from our taxes.
Yeah, sure.
So Kenyans are giving taxes to repay loans. Most of these loans we are repaying, they are loans that have not helped Kenyans. They are loans that were taken to do white elephant projects. Yes. And I think that is the pain I share with my brother here, that our loans are paid from consolidated fund which feeds off our taxes, and therefore we are told that, for instance, they are paying for a dam that has not been in existence. Yes. We are paying for projects back at home that are not in existence. Like us, we don't know when Kenari Dam is going to take place. But somebody took some money, took a loan to build Kenari Dam that was supposed to feed water to Limuru, coming all the way to the city. It has never, you are better off because you saw machineries and everything. Ours has never, we don't know whether it's still on the provisional stages, but money was taken. We are paying those loans, Bitok, but we have no value for our money. Yes. And that is where the bit we have here, because I'll tell you, you cannot take our money, Bitok, and build an overpass from James Geshoro to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Yes.
Build with our own tax. And then make it a toll road. Is that not double taxation? You take money, because it is not only being built by our own, it's also being built by part of what is building that road is the taxes from me and him and you. And then once it's done, they have proposed that it's going to be a toll road. If you want to use it, you have to pay. That amounts to what I would call double taxation. And I think for me, from the word go, is that the people who advised the president to take these loans messed him. One, it was not okay for them to advise the president to take internal loans. 53% of internal loans that are within the country are money that is owned by local banks. Internal loans are very expensive. I would say they're very expensive. The government chose not to sit down and negotiate with international monetary organization through the local banking system. Because I think for me, concession loans are somehow, they are not as bad as commercial loans. Because when you're talking about concession loans, most of them, like most concessional loans we have received as a republic, also comes with something else called, they say they also give you a grant. They give you a concession of 10 billion, and they have also provided a grant of 2 billion. But this government, Bitok, has decided they will not go that way. They want commercial loans because
even
in
Shylock
loans. Can you imagine who has ever thought that Kenya would go to the Kremlin, to Russia, to take a Shylock loan? Because you cannot go take 130 billion and then promise to pay in 6 months. That's Shylock. That's Shylock. I mean, and the government today, you should rigorize Shylock. Because you are also participating in Shylock. How can you take 130 billion and then promise to pay in 6 months?
In 6 months.
It doesn't make sense. So I think for me, Bitok, these are some of the discussions that people are going to have long after when the president is not in office. And I'm telling you, the president will not be judged in a good manner. He is going to be judged harshly, because the person who is going to be the president at that second Tuesday of August next year will have a very serious job, not of building an economy. It is actually taking the economy from somewhere, take it upstairs, bring it back, and then start moving forward. And I think for me, as he's saying, how do we allow the president to put us in an extra, they want to put us in an extra 6 trillion loan before he leaves office, and he only has 1 year? There are things that are not right with the economics that the president is giving us. I have to say I am profoundly sad that our economy is managed by a failed governor. It's true. People, let's be telling the truth. The person entrusted with our treasury terribly failed as a governor. I've been to his county so many times, and I would tell you the records of those 5 years are nothing but zero. But in Kenya, Bitok, is it news that we reward meritocracy? Is it news that we reward people who fail? It's a reward scheme
for failures.
This guy finally found himself within the treasury, and I'm telling you, as much as we may not have liked Henry Rotich, I think he was better off than the current minister. And I think for me that we need, as he has said, I agree 100%. The issue of debt has to be a decision by this nation and this republic. Well, I may have a reservation a little bit, my brother, that we may be curtailing the authority of government to be able to run programs. But I would want us to go to help. Bitok, sometimes back, we could only borrow, we were only allowed to borrow money which was 50% of our GDP.
Yes.
Anything beyond 50% you could not have borrowed Bitok. And I think maybe that is where we need to go back. That whatever kind of borrowing we do Bitok, it must be less, 50% less and or less of our GDP. Because I think, my brother, if we borrow 50% of our GDP, I believe it's manageable.
Yeah.
I believe we can be able to manage our debt ceiling. And I think for me, to that extent, I agree with you that we need to set that maximum. To how far can you go?
Yes.
To how far can you go? And I think 50% of our GDP in a serious, potentially growing economy with the right people on the track, I think we can manage our public debt.
Yes.
And I believe that if we go that way, be talking 10, 15 years, we might be debt free.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As easy work on YouTube says, the Dini initiative should also reign on MP salary. My employer is the one who determines my salary, not the other way around. What are you looking at in terms of?
I really appreciate the way Kenyans are bringing forth their thoughts into this, because this is our problem and we have to face it now that it has grown into a monster. On the same issue of public debt, if you visit the National Treasury website of the National Treasury of Kenya, under what we call the Public Debt Register, it is a category availed by the National Treasury. The last date that it was updated was the year 2018. So there is a lot of opaqueness. There's no transparency, because what are they hiding? Why are they not putting these loans out there for the public to scrutinize them? Because if it's a public loan, if it is money that I am expected to pay as an individual, because ultimately these are loans that we, the people of Kenya, are guaranteeing the government of Kenya. So why should it be held in secret? Maybe you would not go into details to tell me what you used to procure, because maybe there were security-related items. But at least you would avail it on the website for public scrutiny. It is our loan. For example, why is the SGL loan shrouded in secrecy? What is the SGL a security-related project? Of course, no. It's an infrastructural project. Why is it shrouded in a lot of secrecy and opaqueness? You don't know who gets paid. You don't know when they get paid. You don't know the interest they accrue. You don't know who the lands. Why are all these things being held in darkness?
Okay.
So, as my brother has said here, Governor, Parliament, as we speak, is not in a position, because as the people, we have no business going into that. But we have to chip in, because we cannot sit back and watch as our country
being auctioned.
It's
being mortgaged.
Because literally, members of Parliament, and this has been done statistically, after every election cycle, the members of Parliament, more than 80% of them go home. So if you task them with making decisions like borrowing that will commit you for the next 30, 40 years, even in marriage, you say, I do. What is the big deal with these loans? You should engage the people. Let the people commit. For example, and because this is a question that I've seen very many people engage me on, about the cost of running a referendum.
Yes.
We are not saying that we need to take a loan to do a referendum every other time we need to borrow. What we are talking about is the debt ceiling, the upper limit. When we want to set the upper limit that we let the government borrow, that is when we shall do a referendum.
Okay.
That is one aspect.
Okay.
Number two, we've seen mega corruption cases in Kenya. The most recent ones, in the RAM memory of our brains, is the KEMSA one. A whopping more than 10 billion just went down the drain. 4 months, the president promised 21 days there would be a comprehensive report. 4 months down the line,
We're still waiting.
We've not had anything. The parliamentary committee on the PSC, they tried digging up and down. They have not come up with anything conclusive.
Yes.
We have had the director of CID at one point regretting that they do their homework quite well until they get to a point and they receive funds from very high offices and they are told, wachana na huyo. So this is our matter. We cannot leave it to a few people in the society in the name of Parliament, because as we speak today, Parliament has been held at ransom by the state. One, when you don't toe the party line, you are threatened with ouster. You are threatened with corruption cases. And we know all the theatrics that happen around whipping members into coming to vote in a particular predetermined way. And so we can tell Kenyans for a fact, when this motion is brought before the floor of the House about the public debt ceiling, upward adjustment, it will sail through very early in the morning. No member of Parliament will be able to stand against the government. So it is our time to rescue Parliament. In fact, this process is also a process to rescue Parliament, because Parliament has been held at ransom. And so we are saying we have to do. We cannot sit back. Our patriotic duty does not allow us to sit back and watch our country go down the drain. Our forefathers went to the bush. They fought the white man. Others paid the ultimate price. As we are not being called to go that way, we're just called to adopt this initiative, append your signature, and after you've done your part, share it with your circle of friends. In fact, our website is very interactive. There are even share options. You can share right across all the social media platforms.
Okay.
Yeah, so that the earlier we get these signatures, 1 million of them going forward.
You go to IBC?
We go to IBC.
Then you prepare for a referendum.
Come on, we restrain
and
the government.
Referendum.
Yeah, if the government wants to borrow further, they will have to come to us first.
Okay.
We shall have this discussion right there in the streets. What is it that you intend to do with the money that you want me to pay for the next 40 years? We shall have those discussions. And if we find them valid, we have no problem with ratifying further borrowing. Yeah.
All right, guys, that is Idini initiative. You can endorse Idini initiative at www.idini.com. You can just simply type idini.com, idini.com, idini.com. Idini wasema in English is in English.
You need the consent.
Consent. Okay. Yes. So it means the government will have to seek your consent every time it wants to borrow. But it has to seek your consent. Abidi metafuta idhini yako ili iweze kuomba hela meweze kuchukua mkopo. So Skabeles nasema signing John Jaraka sama signing at www.idini.com is the ultimate measure of patriotism. Haya, kimbia pale uonyeshe kuweza kuonyesha uzalendo wako www.idini.com. When you guess what time serikali inataka kuomba mikopo, basi itakuja kwako wewe mwananchi kuweza kuomba idhini ya kuweza kuchukua huo mkopo, kwa sababu ni wewe peke yako ndio utaweza kuibeba hiyo mzigo. Unabeba kwa miaka 40 ama 50 ama 60 ama 100, basi ni mwananchi unaweza kuibeba. Kwa hivyo unaweza kuambia serikali ya kwamba kama unataka kuongeza hata shilingi kwenye mikopo, basi lazima kuje kwangu nikupe nini? Nikupe idhini. Imbia pale www.idhini.com. So kama some you are learning on the loan cycles, we are learning on the loan cycles. Pathetic how the government is running the loans with their dream projects. We are a dead country, okay? Ni source zungumza. Abbas Njuguna says MUCHENDU do not pity the next president. He is most likely to fall up on who messed the projects and money stolen, and he then would be dug out. Matthias Jaba, indiscriminate borrowing will hurt Kenyan economy very badly in the long run, okay? Abbas Njuguna says Maraga planted a seed of judicial independence which germinated, but the executive wants to uproot it using threats and other means possible. Would they succeed? So Alanjeti Kidonga Kinyanji wisdom, we finally have a say in public debt. Ben Koino someone to all the presidents, the all presidents pitch say a tanker carry 20,000 liters. How is that the other time the government spokesman misleading by telling the nation the day of 35th she has not come to public to make that correction? These people around president is finishing us, okay? So influence to Maga following the show Santa Polinchera Pole MUCHENDU Jenga, rest in peace. Jovrio Diambo, good morning my brother, Bitok and all guest. I'm a very happy man. What these people plan to embarrass the president in Kisumu, he could not work for them. We were ahead of them, and I think the people of Kisumu, may God bless them, and that is our next president. People have shown. Bruce Moaz, the president should respect the court orders from Wajir County. Asante. Ila ni aje Bitok salimia Mwai. Tell him we are solidly behind him on quest to tie the boring ceiling. Moses Katel Uhuru is just okay. I think I read that. Elian Jorge ask Mwai Kashuga, why didn't he follow these proposals kwa BBI?
BBI ilifungwa. Hatukubaliwa tupeleke.
Okay, Andrew Collins is watching from Birmingham, Alabama. I support. Thank you so much guys from diaspora. Haya. Nimesikia mambo sasa utaweza kuchukua kuhakikisha kwamba serikali inaomba idhini yako. Benjamin List says, how do you share idhini to your contacts? I'm not seeing that option.
Yes, hapo kwa idhini.com hapo chini. Yeah, you can see the buttons. Kuna button ya WhatsApp, button ya Facebook. Yeah, they are right on the Facebook. Or you can just type it.
You can copy link. Okay, but just go kimbia pale mpaka chini. Benjamin Lisi teremka mpaka chini tuna thumbnails ya kushare WhatsApp, Facebook na mali pengine ambapo nataka iende. Wacha mimi mwenyewe niangalia hapa ndio tuone kama ni kweli ama. Haya, enda mpaka pale chini kwenye website ya idhini. Naona iko pale chini on your phone, utaiona pale chini. Hebu ya simu muonyesha. Okay, so when you scroll all the way down, okay, this is it. Ukisha scroll on hapa chini kuna share, kushare on Facebook, share on Twitter, SMS, Messenger, ama unaweza kushare kwenye WhatsApp. Haya, hivyo ndio hali ilivyo. Ukisha sign pale chini utaiona options ya kuweza kushare wa SMS, Facebook, Messenger na pia WhatsApp na Twitter. Maana pia kuna mahali pa Twitter ya kuweza kushare pale. So unaona pale Benjamin Lisi, tafadhali kimbia pale utaweza kuiona. Anasema copied. Asante sana Benjamin Lisi kwa uzalendo wako. Okay. Okay, let me see. Kuna watu pia wamepotea hapa kidogo. Okay, wamesema kwa nini kuweza kupeleka kwenye BBI? Wamesema BBI ilinyongwa mapema. Swali ya mwisho, let's look at this last conversation. We talk about projects, even as we have a conversation on investment on projects, because every time we want to complain about the data, munaona barabara, munaona ile Muchendu. What do you think about the cost of projects in this country and the effect on the economy? Look at the expressway, for instance. It's now being done at a double price. The same thing was done with SGR. What do you think about
my friend? Have you seen the cost of inaitwa Dongokungu?
Yenye imekungolewa chuma juzi.
Do you know we were doing it at a cost of 1 billion per kilometer?
Crazy.
1 billion shillings per kilometer. And you want to tell me that everything is okay with this government, Bitok? How, I mean, what is it that is being done to warrant doing a kilometer of road at a cost of 1 billion shillings? I thought that the costly load should have been between around 90 million to 120 million shillings if you go by the concept of technology today of building roads. And therefore, I'll tell you why. Because whenever we are doing projects, Bitok, those people who actually do the groundwork and those people who actually do the BQs also incorporates the tokenism that has engulfed this country. That if you are doing this road for 15 billion shillings, there has to be my 2 billion shillings. Wewe ndio utajua pahali utaziweka kwa hiyo contract. So you realize that every development project you see here, Bitok, it is not by mistake, it is by design. And if you critically investigate, you realize that that particular project was made to benefit someone. I'll give you a classic example I keep on giving here. When the Ethiopian government decided they want to construct a new state-of-the-art railway, what they did before anything else, they commissioned a committee to investigate the MGR, that is the meter gauge railway in Ethiopia, and what was it that the meter gauge railway was bringing on the table? What was the contribution of the MGR to the GDP of Ethiopia? And it was found to be less than 1%. So the committee recommended that let us cross down the MGR for 2 years. Let us uproot it, and we put the state-of-the-art SGR where the MGR was passing. And in fact, Bitok, Ethiopia has ended up with a state-of-the-art railway. They have an electrical train. They have state-of-the-art commuter service. They cannot be compared to what we have in Kenya. That particular construction of the Ethiopian new SGR and other railway lines has costed 3 times lower of what the SGR in Kenya, which is yet to leave Naivasha, has costed Bitok. You realize that over 50% of the money that we put on the SGR went into compensation. Not forgetting, and Kenyans must know this, that even before SGR Bitok, the Kenya Railway was the biggest landowner in this country. And therefore, there was no logical reason whatsoever to go on a buying spree of new land when they already had a railway line from Mombasa all the way to Maraba. All they could have done, because you Bitok, you know, there is no railway there is no railway line in the world that makes profit. People must know that. No single railway line that makes profit in the world. Railway lines are built to be means of transport from point A to point B. So anybody who lied to Kenyans that this railway line was going to repay their own was outrightly telling them a lie. Okay. And I think for me that we could have crossed our meter gauge railway. I mean, aren't we spending money to rehabilitate meter gauge railway to Nanyuki? Meter gauge railway to Kisumu. I'm told the president drove through the meter gauge from Nakuru.
Did not. It was Ilikwama.
Ilikwama? Thank God Ilikwama. Kama Uhuru alikuwa anataka aende na. So that you can also know that the money they have spent on those things are not worth it. So my point here is Bitok, that the biggest multinational and biggest companies are the ones who are being awarded this contract, the biggest contract. There is no single contract that is over 2 billion shillings. Most of them that are over 2 billion shillings are not being done by Kenyans. Unless you are doing projects of Kura or Kera. Most Kenya highway authorities projects are not done by the locals. They are done by the international organization. This international organization and multinational Bitok have a requirement that you have to entrust 30% ownership of that company into a local person. And these local person are now the people who are being used to siphon money from this country. So, because you will come, I am from New Zealand, I will come and engage my brother here to be my local partner. I will be awarded the contract, and then through him, I can now repatriate back the 10% I'm supposed to give those people in charge of procurement through him. So I told you the 10% briefcase company owners are the people who are strategically positioned by government to siphon money from this republic. It is why some of them are very vocal government supporters, because if today Bitok wants to come and invest in Kenya, he has to come and get a local partner who will own 30%. And therefore, you are coming to Kenya, Bitok, you don't know Kenyans, you have to rely on government officials and embassies to get you someone. The person they get you is someone they have strategically put there to be the link between you and them, to be able to save. They will get money from the government coffers. They will pay you to do road, and whatever amount is top of what the road was supposed to cost will be siphoned back through you to them. Okay. And that is what is happening in this country. It is the reason people like Dangote could not invest here, because he was asking a very profound question. Why should I entrust that business, 30% of my business, to somebody who is not the vision carrier of what I want to do? And I keep on saying this country has to run from small nations like Rwanda. Today, Bitok, if you ride at Kigali International Airport, within 2 hours, if you wanted to register a company and you have the proper documentation, you walk out of Kigali into Kigali City with a registered business. You don't need anybody to own your 30%. You don't need anybody to approve. Every approval you require has been put at the airport. And that is why today some of the biggest investors, international investors, are finding Kigali and Rwanda as a safe haven to do business. Look at Huawei. Every phone you are buying today in Huawei in Africa is being assembled in Kigali, because they have created an enabling business environment to do business. But in this country, the people who actually look, and the people who, because if there is one of the places where corruption has engulfed this nation, it is on the tendering process. We have what we call tenderpreneurs. These people, they have invested heavily in the tendering process of government. In the comfort of their living room, they know which tender is about to come out. Bitok saizi wewe unajua tu zile tender utaona kwa newspaper. There are people sitting at home, they are expecting in August kuna tender inatoka. And these are the people who are siphoning this country. And unfortunately, these are people who are connected to government officials. And I pity my nation, because unless we deal with this kind of cartel that has engulfed this republic, that has actually corrupted the entire tendering process of the republic, from the national government to the county government, if there is one department that has failed this country, is the tendering department. There are people who heavily invest Bitok. They can give hundreds of millions to have Bitok as their person in the tendering process. They can be, they have invested money in the visibility studies of projects. That Bitok, today, people like us, me and you, we do what is called speculative buying. There are people who are buying land because they have privy information that government is going to do this and this and this. Look at Ngamia 1 and Ngamia 2. The likes of Weta owned. They are the people who are selling those properties to the multinationals. They had an idea. What we have done is that the government information has been auctioned. And we do not have laws that profoundly protect government information. So therefore, Bitok leaking government information is not a big deal for you. And therefore, the moment you leak information, and the moment they note these tenders are coming, they have planned themselves. They have people in the visibility study. They have people who are going to do the quantitative surveyors. Government quantitative surveyors are compromised. That is why we are ending up with projects that have crazy costs. You know, how much did Kibaki spend on Thika Road? Thika Superhighway?
I have a very interesting analysis I've done here on one particular road that was done in 4 phases. The road was done, part 1 was done by the previous Nusumkate government. And this road is namely Isiolo, Merire. Then Merire, Marsabit, Turbi, Moyale. The first phase, 136 kilometers, was done by the Kibaki government, and it was completed in the year 2011. 136 kilometers. And on average, 1 kilometer was costing 46 million. It was done in the year, it was completed in the year 2011. The second phase of the same road from Merire to Marsabit was done now by the Jubilee government in the first term. 121 kilometers. On average, they were doing a kilometer at 113.
Okay.
And this is information available in the government websites. Kenha, you'll get this information. This is not some cooked up figures I'm dishing out. And the other part from Marsabit to Turbi was done at a cost of, on average, 105 million. It was finished, completed in the year 2017. Then Turbi Moyale, 125 kilometers. On average, a kilometer was costing 120, 3 times what Kibaki was doing. So, as my friend Bwana Governor has alluded to, we are having inflated costs on public projects. And that is our biggest undoing. Money is being borrowed. I would not want to cite this example, but the Honorable Prime Minister once said that when they were budgeting for the SGL, because they said them that mooted the idea of the SGL, that the initial cost was 220 billion. How it shot from 220 to 327, I leave that one to your creative imagination. Whatever happened, we are not told. We might never get to know. But the other day, a month or so ago, we had the senator for Bugoma on the floor of the house. And you see, Parliament is a house of records. You cannot. It's not a kado ya barabara mkutano where you throw numbers. He said himself, together with the Honorable Senator for Beth Mogo, nominated, and James Orengo, they were in the Nusumkata cabinet. And a motion was brought about this express highway. And it was supposed to cost 23 billion. But now the figures we are gathering from around is that it's being done at 65 billion in a span of less than 10 years. You see, what explains that hike?
Tripled.
What would explain? What theory? Because inflation would not. What would? You know?
And you know our economy has not.
So we didn't need these answers.
Okay.
Yeah, and because if a single project has been inflated, quote unquote, by a whooping 40 billion, we would use a quarter of that money, 10 billion, to do a referendum. And you include the people of Kenya on those deliberations, that 10 billion will be enough to do enough public participation. The people of Nakuru County, for example, they would want to know what are they going to get out of the extended borrowing that we are committing them to repay. The people of Lamu, likewise.
All right. Okay. Now because we're already at 2 hours, I would want to give you an opportunity to give your last remarks to Kenyans, speak to Kenyans as we end our show today.
All right. Thank you so much, Bitok. What I would want to tell fellow patriotic Kenyans is that we do not have another country. We have Kenya. Maybe there are a few people out there who have got dual citizenship with other countries. But for us, the majority of us have no other place to call home. So we have to face our problems, because they are our problems. And if we do not face them head on, they will bedevil our generations to come. So on the issue of public debt, everybody across board, irrespective of their political alignment or leaning, they believe that we have a problem, not with the borrowing, but with the way
utilization.
We appropriate the proceeds. So personally, I've decided to face this problem head on. I'm calling upon fellow Kenyans, kindly sign this initiative, endorse it, and after you've endorsed it, share it with your circle of friends. We have even gone further in our online portal, because there are some people who insist on doing the manual signing. We have provided a downloadable form. You can download, collect signatures from your village mates and your friends, circle of friends, and the people you spend your life around. You can have them sign on the manual form or the electronic form. The electronic form is quite easier because it doesn't involve a lot of paperwork. But if you have to go out of your way and sign from the manual form, it has been made available in our online portal, www.ivini. Then share. If you feel this good news is too good, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the share button. You can share on all the available social media platforms, through Facebook, WhatsApp, and all other social media platforms. And together, we are going to rescue our nation from this monster called public borrowing. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes.
I appreciate. Thank you so much for coming in. brother Mwai, na kuna watu hapa wamechangamkia kabisa. Nasema MUCHENDU, asante sana. Thank you for coming in. Leja Njoroge says a discussion of like minds. Yeah, we have no problem with the government borrowing, but since these easily acquired loans end up in people's pockets of the Murades of this world, tuombe ruhusa na sio tafadhali. Congratulations Mwai and entire initiative team. Okay, asante sana. I appreciate Charles Kiwanza endorsed Idini. Okay, MUCHENDU.
Yes.
Zako za mwisho tufunga kioski.
I want to first of all again send my condolences to the family of Jenga, the slain boda rider from Deru Shopping Center in the ward. And as we lay him to rest on Friday, we pray that the perpetrators of these heinous acts will be brought to book, and that that family will be served with the justice they deserve. I also want to actually speak on the Kiamba issue, the Kiamba constituency by-election coming on 15th. Now, we have been telling the people of Kiamba, and we will repeat again, form Niuda. We have our hustler candidate there by the name Jogona Wanjiko. And this is the man who is representing the aspirations of the young people in Kiamba. Is representing the aspirations of the Kiamba constituency at large, whose their former MP was part of what you call deep state. Okay. But they have not seen development. And I also want to tell them that they cannot expect any development simply because there is a Jubilee candidate there who they are being told to elect to have development. I want to tell them that it was not happening during the former MP's Koinange time. It is not going to happen during Jubilee in government this time. I will also tell them that they need to show government that they had issues with it for not bringing development. For your information, Bitok, Kiamba's proximity to the city is about 20 kilometers. But you can imagine that constituency did not have the so famous TTIs. Kiamba constituency doesn't have a technical training. If you go to River Rory, if you go to Gashie, where the Jubilee candidate comes from, that place, roads are in a mess. The government is telling them to erect a Jubilee candidate so that they get these services. What is stopping the government now from giving them that service today? Okay. And I'm telling you, the reasons stopping government from building roads in Gashie, building roads within the Mushada village, building roads within the former Kiamba village, building and repairing schools. The reasons that are stopping government from doing that today are the same reasons that are going to stop government from doing it even after you were to elect Jubilee candidates. It's the reason why we are telling you that the only way to express your frustration, the only way to express how you feel about the government neglect in Kiamba constituency, it is by electing the UDA candidate Njuguna Wanjiko. Let us rally behind him. He may not have been our candidate previously, but as a hustler nation, we must unify behind him because he is our candidate and he is the person who is going to set a good base that even in 2022, we will have the hustler nation still take charge of Kiamba and take charge of government. And this country is going to move forward. So the people of Kiamba, we come to you and we are asking you that let us support Jogona Wanjiko and let us help him clinch the Kiamba seat for the sake of the hustler nation.
Haya ni habari kutoka MUCHENDU kwa mambo ya Kiamba. Habari ya Mwai pia ni www.idini.com, idini.com. Go and endorse and then you can also share around your cycles. Haya mpata pia ujumbe kwa MUCHENDU amesema Kiamba wako rada wanasubiri. Na pole pia kwa familia ya anaitwa Mwangi.
Anaitwa Albert Jenga.
Yes. Albert Jenga, pole sana kwa familia Albert Jenga. On behalf of the tackle, we want to say pole ni sana. May God comfort you. Nikipata nafasi pia tapitia pale Ijumaa Friday tapitia hapo. Tuzungumza pamoja. Tuangalie ni vipi tunaweza zidi kama watu wa Kikuyu wamekuwa watu wangu sana ndia.
I'm telling you. Now, you know, Bitok mimi nakutafutia mashamba huko hutaki kuja kununua. You still want to smell this polluted nini. Unajua, ukinusa hii hewa ya Nairobi iko na pollution kidogo, kuja nyumbani pahali
ndaanza kuzeeka.
Bana, kuja pale, you bring your family in a very neighboring environment. Tumepanda miti huko, barabara ziko sawa, maji iko sete, and it's a good place.
Kila kitu iko chonjo.
Iko chanja.
Haya watu wandea ni mahali kwenda kuja.
Mwenye anataka kashamba hapo anione.
Akuone kanda. Kama unataka pogonda. Ongeresha Muchendu kanda. Kama utapataje buroti maguta. Vizuri. Asante sana Mwai kwa kuja na kutakia yote mema in your initiative. I hope you get to have more Kenyans to be part of this patriotic duty, and I hope you never get tired, because you know we tire sometimes, because fighting against a system that's so established at times can be a serious headache. So I hope you keep the spirit running. Some of us as young people who want to see a better country will try and be part of the initiative. But until next time, Kesho Diaspora Edition. See you guys. Thank you, Tacklers, who have been online on YouTube and also on Facebook. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Because the conversation was so deep, I couldn't open Bunga la Mwananchi. Lakini at least I've been getting your feedback on several platforms. So let's keep this going. The guys on Twitter, the guys on YouTube, and the guys on Facebook. It's been a pleasure having you. This is Tackle and Tackle Ends now. See you again tomorrow on Diaspora, on the Tackle Diaspora Edition. You have a conversation with the diasporans, the Kenyans who are in diaspora, on how best they think their country can be run forward. We get a mix of Kenyan issues and also diaspora issues, so we can be able to harmonize them and move forward better. These are Tackle and Tackle Ends now. We love you, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. These are Tackle, and see you. Bye-bye. Signing out.